Hi, everybody. How's it going? We got to get some energy back in this room.
I know.
I mean, don't get me wrong, Vanguard's exciting.
We're ahead of schedule. Maybe you guys will get out early. That's a good sign.
It's like school.
I know. Keep it going. There's so many people in the back. Look at all these empty seats.
Were you the kid at school when you saw the snow outside? You're
Look,
like,
yes,
snow!
bring them. Look, there's so many, so many seats
We got
over
some
here.
chairs open. This is going to be a fun one.
No pressure, but all of the pressure.
I can't promise that, but I'm going to try.
Yes, slow clap.
Hey,
I like
it.
Yes. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
All right. So, my name's Todd Adest. If you've been to a Brand Innovators event, no doubt you have absolutely seen me. I'm here way too much, and they trust me with a microphone, so shame on them. I am here today from a company called adMarketPlace. We specialize in e-commerce and performance, specifically paid search. I am joined today by an incredibly inspiring, wonderful woman.
Oh.
Sabrina, please introduce yourself.
Yes, I'm Sabrina Callahan. I am a VP in e-commerce at Sam's Club under Walmart. And I'm basically managing the digital member experience and engagement. So everything at the top of the funnel to drive frequency and engagement and keep them coming back. So yeah, in a nutshell.
All right, and I got to tell you, I'm really excited about this conversation because Walmart, by far, one of my favorite brands in the entire world.
We did not pay you to say that either.
No, it is true. And in preparation, we talked about my experiences at the Walmart superstores, the supercenters. And this is a true story. And you're in Dallas.
I am.
I'm based here, but I was in San Antonio, Texas, and I was at a Walmart supercenter. And I saw this huge pyramid of cans, and I thought it was paint cans. And this is Texas. It wasn't paint cans. They were 5-gallon cans of nacho cheese.
That's real. And I was like, are you sure you weren't in a Sam's Club? Because I feel like that's more geared towards Sam's Club. But
exactly. So that leads me to my first question, which is, you've got a family. You obviously shop at Sam's Club. What is the one thing that you absolutely have to buy every time you either walk in the store or you shop online?
Okay, you told me just now that you were going to ask me that question. So I've been trying to figure out I don't think there's a one thing. Let me tell you the one thing I'm excited about for holiday that I'm buying that I will not leave without. And then let me tell you kind of the main things I have to get when I'm there for my family. So the one thing I'll buy for holiday is our private label Members Mark just came out with this prismatic collection that's like holiday decor, and it's really bright and sparkly, and my kids are already obsessed with it. So I'll be getting that for sure. But then the other thing that I always do get at Sam's is they have these Southern style chicken bites that are in a frozen bag, and they kind of taste like Chick-fil-A. And I'm very lazy and never have time because I'm running late all the time, so I throw them in the air fryer. And that's like the one thing I won't leave without making sure I have, and it's always in my freezer.
I mean, you named one of my other favorites, which is Chick-fil-A. I'm not skinny. All right, so let's talk about work, okay? So now you are the VP of e-commerce at Sam's Club. Pretty important position with what's going on in the world today with digital. How did you get there? What does that journey look like? And you were at Hilton for 7 years, so you've been in the business for quite some time. How do you get to run e-com at Sam's?
You did a good job remembering my bio.
I tried.
Thanks. So I'll back up before and kind of talk about my journey on the way to get to Sam's Club and Walmart. So like you mentioned, I was at Hilton for 7 years. So in hospitality and retail are just night and day different. If any of you have been on both sides of those things, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So Sam's was my first retail experience, but back to hospitality. I was there for about 7 years, really helped launch their e-commerce program in pilot phase 1. So really got my hands dirty in understanding digital and centralized search strategies and building kind of the franchise side of the business. And then I got to work on the owned and managed side with some of their biggest properties, including the Hilton Midtown and the Waldorf New York. So I was in New York quite a bit. And then randomly a role opened up for the global social media strategy role across the 15 brands to kind of lead social media as a business. No one really knew what to do with social media, so I developed the first ever Center of Excellence for Hilton and got that approved and really kind of brought all of the 15 brands together to think about ROI and tech stacks and listening and moderation and everything with social. I loved it there. I didn't think I would ever leave. I still love Hilton, staying in a Hampton Inn, loyal forever. But prior to Hilton, I was in a couple of startups. So I've really been in the digital space, marketing, branding, social, my entire career. I was on maternity leave with my third baby, and Walmart came knocking. And I picked up the phone, and the first thing they said there was not a job description for the role, which immediately I was like, oh, they got me, because every role I've ever had has not existed on paper before I took it, which gets me really excited. So I like coming in, trying to figure out things from scratch, building a strategy, building a team, collaborating and figuring out the best way forward. And the role at Sam's that I took originally was the director of brand marketing and social media marketing. And I worked for a man named Tony Rogers, which is ultimately the reason why I made the decision to come over. And he had come from Walmart, US, where he was the CMO, and his entire mission at Sam's Club was to build a brand that everyone loved. And so I got to come in on, at the beginning of that journey. It was a $60 billion company, and I got to help build the brand from scratch. So the member research, and then how it all comes to life. So, the brand promise, the look, the feel, the Viz ID, all of that stuff, which was, we turned the everyday into something special, and you can always expect something special with Sam's Club. And then we revamped all of marketing. I then launched all of social media, including paid, organic, platform strategies, influencer strategy, social tech stack, social moderation, and listening and response, all of the things there. Launched all of the big brand campaigns, so all the fun celebrity stuff, and we did the Kevin Hart Super Bowl commercial, and we relaunched the Members Mark private label brand. So it's crazy to think that I've been there for almost 5 years, but when you look back and see how much we've accomplished in such a short amount of time, it's been pretty amazing. And then about a year and a half ago, we were trying to figure out kind of what my next step was going to be and where I was wanting to go. And the e-commerce team was really becoming a centralized team, and they knew they needed to keep growing, and they created this role again from scratch. So there was no job description. And it was a perfect fit because it combined the ability to bring the brand to life through digital and pull in my old expertise of e-commerce and digital and building that end-to-end journey and doing it in a way that's driving a relationship with members, not just a sales transaction. So that's what I've been doing for the last year. Again, building the team, developing the strategy, figuring out, what are we pretty good at and where do we need some help and focus, and how to kind of build a roadmap to get there to where we want to go.
I had no idea you were such a slacker.
Yeah.
Listen, that is...
I'm super bored all the
Yeah,
time.
for real. So since you're not that busy, no, you know what? Listen, Sam's Club is obviously a membership type model. Historically has been really about in-store purchases, in-store visits. So I want to start here because e-com for a membership organization, and when we were talking, you were throwing out some pretty crazy numbers of the amount of members that actually shop online. So talk to us about that, because that's a huge transition from that in-store shopping experience to now transitioning online, especially for those big bulk buys.
Yeah. So if you think about kind of the role of the club and this transition to online, I think we've been in a really unique position because we know our members love the in-club experience, right? They sign up in club, they get the treasure hunt, right? They get to go find the items that are in and out. So, in a Walmart Supercenter, you might find, over 100,000 SKUs, but at a Sam's Club, it's a curated assortment, right? We specifically choose really intentional items to have in front of you. We'll have very limited SKU counts, right? And you pay for the membership to come in to have really good quality and really good value at a really good price, right? So what we do is we take that, we capitalize on that in-club experience because it's really important to us and we don't want to lose that. But we also are focusing on how to also drive omni behavior. And one of the things that's been really strong for us and for the brand is Scan and Go. So has anyone heard of Scan and Go? Does anyone have the Sam's Club app on their phone? Yes, your name. Find you after this. You left Costco for Scan and Go. Did you all hear this? Left Costco for Scan and Go. We're gonna have to find you and do like a video and then post it on social. So so Scan and Go has been huge, right? It's got a 90 NPS. People love it. And to use Scan and Go, you have to download the Sam's Club app, right? So what we find is members in the club are motivated to download our app, which means we then have them in their pocket when they leave, right? And so the opportunity we have had is, okay, if we have them on digital and they're purchasing in the club, the opportunity really becomes how do you get them to then transition online and purchase a sale online? And that's a little bit different, right? So, we're thinking about how to use messaging and push and capitalize on that engagement in the app and turn them into online shoppers so that they feel the convenience of shopping from anywhere they are, not just necessarily in the club.
So, listen, you've been in the role now for a year and a half. You've been with the company for 5 years. It's been a pretty rough couple years, not from a company perspective, but just globally. I can bring it up even though it's past due. COVID has been, obviously had a greater impact on digital transformation.
What?
You've got inflation and recession, which has driven value-based purchases.
Yep.
So talk to us about how that has impacted the brand strategy, what you guys have done differently as a result of those two big factors within the ecosystem and more importantly, the consumer journey.
Yeah. So I'm in a unique position, right? Because within my 5 years, I helped develop the brand, transition the brand, and now I'm on the digital side. So I think they knew what they were doing when they were like, hey, we should think about this role because it's ultimately something I'm so passionate about that I can bring that brand to life now on digital. So I'm going to kind of present two sides of the story with COVID from the brand side, and now I can talk about inflation a little bit from the e-com side and also the impact we saw through digital. So backing up, so I joined Sam's of January 2019, and again, there was a lot of work to do quickly. So developing all of the brand stuff, but we didn't start really pushing out the brand until about May or June. We got Usain Bolt and did a big thing with Scan and Go, and it was like the fastest man in the world with the fastest shopping in the world, and we did this whole thing. And we were really just getting our feet under us, and our entire brand strategy was to drive advocacy, right? We needed our members talking about us to tell other people about the great things that they bought at Sam's Club because I'm a part of Walmart, but I don't have Walmart's money. I tell everybody when I recruit for my team, I'm like, we run like an $80 billion startup. And then they get in there and like, oh my God, you weren't kidding. And I'm like, yeah, so we have to be scrappy. And we're big, but we're scrappy. And we were doing the same thing then. We knew we needed to come up through digital, which is why they combined my role with brand and social, because they're like, we need someone who can build a brand, but we know you're gonna have to bring it to life through social. So we knew advocacy was gonna play a really big role in that. And we were doing it, basically our strategy was like one product at a time. What do people talk about? What do they love? They love Scan and Go, right? So let's talk about Scan and Go. They love our rotisserie chicken. Let's talk about the rotisserie chicken. They love our fresh produce. Let's talk about that, right? Like we were leaning into items to drive advocacy. Fast forward, we were feeling pretty good. We were starting to see, some sentiment drive and brand passion, which is what we were focused on. And then all of a sudden, COVID hit. And I specifically remember, I think it was February 15th. And every day, obviously, I have to live and breathe social media. And I'm scrolling through the feeds. And I'm seeing such a different mix of content. I'm seeing content from people and friends and influencers and economists about how scared everybody is and what's coming, and they don't know what's coming, and they're questioning everything. And then I had brands that are pretending like nothing was happening. And they were just posting stuff like business as usual. And I'm like, we cannot be that brand. And I remember calling Tony, who in turn called our CEO, Kath, and I specifically said, we have to go dark until we figure out the right way to show up. And he said, I hear you, we'll go dark, you have 24 hours. So tell me what you want to do. And I remember like, awesome, okay, great. So I called the team and I'm like, this isn't on us to figure out, this is on us to listen to our members and our associates and hear what they're saying so we know the right way to show up, right? It has to be authentic. And so the team for 24 hours straight, it was just social listening and email feedback. And what are they saying? How are they feeling? And they were scared, right? And it wasn't just members who were scared, it was associates who were scared. And they're sitting there, thinking, okay, as much as they are associates for Sam's Club, they're also parents and sons and daughters, and they are terrified to have to go into work. and we need them to go into work because the country needs PPE. Paper towels, toilet paper, bottled water, hand sanitizer, gloves. They needed all of these things. And that's what's been the power of Walmart and Sam's Club that I've seen from the inside out is, we can really be there when it matters and counts to support our communities. And so I called Tony at that 24-hour mark, and I said, I think we need to change all of our content and our entire brand content strategy to focus on associates and just put all of our support behind them and talk about them and thank them and support them. And strategy grew like wildfire. We had a 1,500% increase in engagement, 500% increase in advocacy and shares. Our associates felt a need and excitement to follow us and get passionate about what we were talking about, and they were sharing, and then that in turn was sharing, and it grew, and it also felt core to who we were, our brand, what we represent. It felt authentic, and there was so much content because we had also launched local social. So we had given all of our clubs the ability to now post on Facebook. And because we were supporting them, they were posting about it. They were talking about it, which in turn was feeding the loop, right? Because we could take all of their content and post it. And so, it was really becoming all focused on what the members were saying, what our associates were saying. And, from a member perspective, they were so excited to see how we were protecting our own and how much attention we were putting in on the safety of the associates and the safety of the club. So that they felt good going in to be able to shop, right? So on the flip side, from a digital perspective, the other thing we were hearing constantly was they were scared to go in the club, right? And they didn't want to have contact. So, we leaned into things like Scan and Go, but then we also quickly launched something called Curbside, right? So we started heavily leaning into that convenience. And I think the cool thing about Sam's is how fast we can run because we are so scrappy. And so we saw ourselves like all efforts were put behind that, and we were able to launch Curbside at scale quickly, and our members were just so grateful for it. And in turn, we saw tons of new members, loyalty, renewals, and advocacy across the board.
And then with inflation,
it's the same thing. You listen to your members. I think everything we do, we talk about this constantly. We are a member-obsessed organization. And it's one thing to say it, it's another thing to sit in a room and you have debates about ROI and P&L and associates and all of these things and operations and structure. And at the end of the day, it's like, everyone be quiet. What is the member saying? What do they want, right? And we've had to do that in quite a few of these situations where there's no playbook. So with inflation, same thing. We're listening to what they're saying, what they're seeing, and the consumers and the members are smart, right? And so what we're doing behind the scenes is constantly working to lower prices and keep prices at, and focus on value. Because again, they pay for that membership, and when they walk in, the core is value, and we're trying to do it with omni and digital through the lens of convenience, right? Convenience is our differentiator in our competitive market. And so we're trying to make sure that we're showing up in every way, whether value with price and quality, and continuing to lean on that with our merchandising organization, or whether from an omni perspective, we're leaning in on Scan and Go with the app, or Curbside, or our ship to home business, or our same day delivery. Whichever way they want to shop, we want to lean in, so that at the end of the day, when they are having to make that hard decision with limited dollars to spend, it's an easy decision to choose Sam's because we're saving them money, and we're saving them time.
I love it. You touched on so many things. Words I heard come out of you just now: scrappy, authentic. These are kind of the tenets, the things that Walmart specifically are so well known for. Just a fan of business and the way companies form and they run and their values. Sam Walton, there's no arguing. I want to read a quote, and I'm not sure you're going to be able to add to this, but I'd certainly love to hear if you have additional thoughts. Sam Walton, who's the founder of Walmart, parent company of Sam's Club: "There is only one boss, the customer, and he can fire everybody in the company from the chairman on down simply by spending his money somewhere else. So you mentioned a bunch of the tools that you've enabled in order to have price, value, convenience. What other things are you folks doing? It is a crowded market, and you are competing with additional SKUs from the big box retailers. Plus, we heard Costco and BJ's and all of the other, membership organizations. What else are you doing to really, truly differentiate from the rest of the pack?
It's a good question. So I'm going to take it from my space in e-commerce.
Please.
And really think about kind of the focus we have right now. So if you think about the role of digital in their lives, so first of all, you have to know your target audience, right? So you think about, we've labeled our target audience the happy host, right? So they're extremely busy. I'm kind of the perfect happy host because I've got 3 kids, 3 dogs, 0 time, and I need something good that I can depend on, but also I need that convenience, I need that time. And I also need it to be simple and easy, even in my UX, right? So when I come in, I don't want to have to, spend too much time finding what I need, but I also need you to inspire me and drive some discovery of additional things too that I maybe didn't know Sam's Club had. So I'm a complex person, and what I would say is, from the digital perspective, and where we're leaning in on the members and that convenience piece, we think about what traffic drivers are bringing them in and how to connect that journey to make it as easy as possible through that flow. I'm going to give you an example and some of the things we're thinking about to really differentiate ourselves in the market with the digital experience. So quoting some numbers in terms of performance. So last year, we had about 1 billion visits total across all digital. And when I say digital and what I'm responsible for, it's desktop, just old school, mobile web, so you're pulling up your phone, going to samsclub.com, and app, right? And so across those 3 digital platforms, we had about 1 billion visits total last year. When I pulled the numbers last week, we had already had 1.2 billion visits with holiday still to go, right? And so we were pretty excited to see the continued traffic. But what I care about most, again, is what the members are actually doing, right? So it's one thing to see the traffic and be like, yay, great. What I actually care about is where they're coming in, where they're dropping off, where I'm not seeing them go to checkout and why, and how am I then building a roadmap to be able to fix those solutions through the journey. So what I then started to dig into was, with the 1.2 billion visits, where are they coming from? 82% of it's coming from mobile. Mobile is king. Well, what's exciting to us, which you guys heard, is we have the benefit of people wanting our app, even if they're maybe not shopping online. But that means they're then pulling it up. So of the 82% of that mobile traffic, 59% of it was app traffic. So much of it's coming through app, and the majority of app traffic is direct, meaning they're hitting our homepage most of the time, right? So then I'm like, okay, so as a key differentiator, understanding the members, where they're going, what they want, how to make it easy to push them down the funnel, I'm focused on the homepage. I own the homepage. Perfect, right? And then I think about all of the levers and what they're doing on that homepage, and thinking about things like personalization and how you have the different modules and items and what to put in front of them and when and where, and making it easy for them to click, and thinking about things like inspiration and category penetration. Right? And then I think about things like Gen AI, right? So one of the first things they do when they hit, and we've all talked about Gen AI to death over the last few days, but when I think about it, I think about one of the first things they do when they get to the homepage is they go to the search bar, right? Because they know what they came in for. So, okay, could I use Gen AI in search, right? And instead of it just pulling up, oh, I'm here for my Members Mark milk, well, what if you could say I'm here to fill up my basket, or I'm here for a kid's birthday party, or a specific event, or a holiday, or whatever it is, and we could use that Gen AI to make it easy for you, right? Here's all of your stuff and your solutions in one, right? So you don't have to go search the web or our app. It's right here for you. So I'm constantly thinking about how to differentiate even further through what we can control and own within that experience to really set ourselves apart.
I love everything you said. I've been using AI to start my rap career. So,
good. Can you please wrap right now?
No.
I think slow clap if you want to wrap.
No way. So, no, next question. Don't even. He works for
said
me.
it.
He's being a jerk. You bring me to another question that I have. So, we kind of covered the macro. Now let's get down a little bit more to the micro. You mentioned some performance metrics, traffic, visitation, what people are doing on site. Measurement has obviously become such an important component, especially within digital, which is your world. And now the debate, and I guess, we can talk about whether it's inflation driven or it's just this ongoing debate between long-term metrics like lifetime value and the things that you're doing that really add the stickiness to create habitual usage versus that short-term that dopamine hit of the ROAS, right? The return on ad spend of the immediate revenue associated with it. And when you throw out stats like 59% are coming from an app, those are loyal consumers. Those are people that you know really, really well. The other percentage are those new consumers, or are those people who just refuse to download the app? And what kind of metrics are you looking at when you're thinking about your strategy and you're putting all that stuff together? I know it's a big one.
It's a long question.
Sorry.
You should have wrapped it. I think we'll go back to the wrap at the end. You set yourself up for it. So I'm going to take this maybe in chunks. What I would say is your debate, right, is ultimately short-term benefit versus long-term benefit. My first chunk is the fact that we're different for retail a little bit, right? So we're a membership model, which means we are constantly playing this game of we've got to get new members in the door, but ultimately we are unsuccessful if they don't renew, right? And so we have to understand all of the different triggers that we can, leverage that ultimately impact renewal. And online shopping and channel adoption for online is a heavy signal of renewal. So we know they'll renew more. We also know that they will spend 2.5 times more money if we can see them shopping online. So immediately you have this long-term benefit of getting them engaged online that impacts your renewal and your long-term LTV, right? That said, I am responsible for a P&L, and I have to answer to it every Monday morning of the previous week. I have to do it in a way that's driving that top line revenue number without breaking my bottom line. And each channel costs a certain amount of money for fulfillment. So I'm also constantly balancing it. And, I've worked really closely with the marketing team, who's a partner of mine, responsible for bringing in a percentage of my traffic, who is focused on, they have a certain amount of budget and they have a certain amount of ROAS that they have to be, accountable for. And where we've had a lot of conversation is around, I want you to hit those revenue numbers, yes. But I need to balance your budget in a way that's not just driving the exact same people who are already shopping, because even with everyone loving our app, we only have 1/3 of our members shopping online, and that's a lot when you think about our membership base. But in reality, all I see is opportunity. Mm-hmm. And if you're focused on ROAS, you're gonna talk to Annie she's buying the same thing every 3 weeks like clockwork because she's stocking up for her house. So it's not productive from a marketing spend it is from a ROAS perspective to hit her with she's probably going to buy paper towels. It's been 2.5 weeks since she bought paper towels. Let's target her with paper towels. Shocker, she clicked on it, she put it in her basket, and she purchased it. What a great ROAS. In reality, I'm first of all, was it incremental? Second of all, did she put anything else in her basket? Because guess what? Paper towels were not cheap for me to send her. And unless I know she's going to come back and have category penetration and shop in other areas and put more things in her basket, I don't actually even care about Annie. I need to see more people driving digital penetration so that I'm growing my top line in a way that's incremental and additive to the overall membership model. And so we have that balance quite a bit, right? Because they have to mix their media mix and their channel audiences to be able to hit ROAS targets while I'm also hitting digital penetration targets. And so I'm holding them accountable to both. And in a lot of ways, I'm also holding them accountable to app downloads, right? Like I need people in, I need more people in. And like what I constantly kind of reiterate to the team is more people shopping more often.
Oh my God, they must love you.
They hate me. It's fun. We have a good relationship, though. It's working, though. We're seeing it, right?
Well, it is. So listen, let's talk about that because you've mentioned it now a couple times when we spoke on the phone. 3 kids. I also have 3 kids. 3 dogs. You beat me. I have 2. So let's talk about that because that is a really tough thing to balance. You clearly have a really big job and you're a mom. How do you balance? Is there a balance? How does that even work for you?
So first of all, don't judge me on the 3 dogs. I just had one like 3 months ago, and I'm like, she needs a friend. She's like a 100-pound Rottweiler, which is a whole nother story that I need a drink for because my husband just brought her home one day, and then I had a Rottweiler. So she needs a friend because she's driving me crazy. And I went for 1 puppy, and I somehow brought home 2. And I know it was a bad decision. I regret it every day when they're pooping all over my house. But now I am somehow in a position that I did to myself where I've got 3 young kids and 3 young dogs, and it's just, my house is just straight up chaos. My kids are young. They're 5, 7, and 9. When I started, we were just having this conversation earlier today. When I started at Sam's, they were 4 months old, 2 years old, and 4 years old.
Oh my goodness.
And I am in Dallas, and so Walmart's in Bentonville. For those of you who don't know, which means I was in Bentonville twice a month, 3 to 4 days every time, and my husband hated me, to put it lightly. And to answer your question, I don't think there's such a thing as balance. I think about myself in my younger career, sitting in the audience before I had kids and hearing women on stage talking about balance. And I'm like, it's going to be so easy. I can figure it out. I can do this. And I fast forward and I laugh at myself because I'm like, it's impossible. And anyone who says that you can do it and do it really well isn't really balancing like 3 kids and a crazy job. What I would say is the way I deal with my mom guilt, so I like to call it, is I cannot be 100% great at everything at all times, every day. And so my balance is like an ebb and flow. Right, so right here, I'm in New York right now. My kids are back in Dallas. I missed a bunch of stuff this week, but I'm going to take off early on Friday and pick them up early from school, and my team knows I'm out of pocket for Friday, right? I find those areas where I can pull back and take my time back, and when I'm with them, I'm present. And I set the tone and example also for my team to be able to do the same thing. I have parents that work for me, and I think I've been in situations where my bosses will tell me that, and then they're on 24/7, and then they bother me when I'm supposed to be with my kids, and so I live it, and I'm like, what? Did you really need me? You know I'm at a soccer game. Like, did you really need it? And I kind of push back to say, like, no, I'm serious, right? If I'm out, I'm out. So only if it's an emergency. But it sets the tone for the rest of the team, right? Because when I'm in here and I'm present, I'm not home with my kids either, and they can't get to me. So it creates like an ebb and flow to where, some days I'm really good at being a mom, others I'm not, and some days I'm really, really good at work, and my kids don't see me as much. So.
I've gotten that same hate from my spouse. The way I've dealt with it is...
you made her a rap song.
Yes, and the gift shop at the airport.
My kids are getting a lot of Statues of Liberty.
There you go. There you go. I mean, that's how you do it. So, you mentioned the teams that you work with internally. You mentioned your team a couple of times. So obviously there are a lot of internal stakeholders, a lot of internal teammates that you work with. Walmart, I have always had very positive experiences with anybody that's worked for the company. Super, super nice people. There's got to be a secret sauce to the hiring, to the culture. So when you're looking to build out a team, when you're looking to bring really great people into the organization, what are those characteristics? What are you looking for? What do you want to see the most out of people that's really going to be a true indicator for success when they join the company?
I mean, I'm going back to like 101 with Jim Collins and Good to Great, if anyone's read that book. And I took that so to heart when he talks about like skill sets. I think you can teach. If people are coachable, you can teach them skill sets. What you can't teach someone is to be motivated, right? And to like just be self-motivated. And so I try to hire in a way that I think 3 things that I try to get out of the interviews is like, are they self-motivated? Are they empathetic? And are they good collaborators? Right? Because if I know that they can work with people and build trust and they can have that empathy, which I think is the number one thing at the core to build that trust, and then they're self-motivated to where I don't feel like I'm a horrible micromanager. I lack structure quite a bit. I'm much more like in the strategy. And so I can't babysit and I don't have time to babysit. And so I need to know that they can do it. They can just run. And so I think that's how I've hired, and it's really paid off because I think when they're self-motivated, you can also teach them and they're interested in learning and curious and can run. And I think Walmart does the same thing, right? They invest in their people,
sure,
and they train and develop, and they really prioritize the people and they teach them the skills.
All right, so you've got 3 kids. There are plenty of people in this room. What I find at these events is there's usually some students, people who are going to watch the footage online. I always ask for someone who is just starting their career, whether it be in marketing or in this industry in some form or fashion. What kind of advice do you have for somebody just getting started? What would you tell somebody who maybe the 22-year-old version of yourself?
I would say ask questions, have a voice, and I would always say raise your hand and volunteer for things. So I think that's what helped me advance in my career early on, is that I would say when I noticed I wasn't liking something and or disagreeing with something, and they would say, great, do you want to fix it? And I would say yes. And they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing or how to fix it, but I'm going to go figure it out, right? And I would find the right people. And one, I was lucky enough to be surrounded by people who were open to me pushing back and listening. So I've been blessed with some really great mentors throughout my career. But at the same time, I pushed and I raised my hand and put myself out there. And it's scary, but it's worth it. And I think it allows you to sometimes break through when you're kind of looking for those opportunities.
Love it. All right, so we've only got a couple minutes left. You're not off the hot seat yet. Any questions from the audience?
Oh,
we got a big one over here.
Quick hand. It's a good question. So we have a membership team at Sam's Club, and they control the entire strategy for membership, and they run the membership P&L from beginning to end, right? So not only acquisition, but then renewal. So really, from an acquisition standpoint, you have to know exactly who you're targeting, how you're targeting, what ways to go about it, what channels to go about it. We very, specifically measure CAC and, cost per acquisition, and going after, people within radius of the club that are likely to get the membership, and then you have to deliver the right message at the right time within those channels. So we're really focused on, driving organic memberships, yes, where we can, and a lot of those come through in club at the membership desk, but then we have intentional marketing campaigns throughout the year and or promotion timeframes where we will push the membership in a really big way to drive that pipeline. But to your point, it's not just about, and we talked about this earlier, it's not just about getting them in the door. Like that's step one. Now everything changes into that first year, right? Like it's really imperative to get them engaged in those first 90 days. And so the good news about a membership company is we have a lot of data on you, right? We know what you're doing. We know how often you're purchasing. We know what's in your basket. We know because you swipe your card every time. So it's a really big opportunity for us to use that data and connect with you across your journey and knowing what types of things you're purchasing and what would you be likely to purchase in this. But then we also need to say, okay, well, we need to get them involved in some of the things that actually also trigger renewals, right? So, and that's what we're talking about, things like online, result in higher renewals. So we know those different things that we will target with them, and continue to monitor and watch them, because ultimately convenience results in frequency, frequency results in renewal, because if they keep coming back, they're clearly seeing value. So it's kind of a bit of a formula, and we watch them and monitor them so that when they get to that renewal time period, we know whether or not we're feeling good about whether they'll renew, and if we can get them past that first bump, we're feeling pretty good.
All right, so we are out of time. Closing statement, first of all, thank you. This has been absolutely incredible. You are wonderful and a joy to speak with. I would just want to plug Brand Innovators for 1 second. These events are all about networking. So if you are not saying hello to your neighbor, you are missing the opportunity here. So please be more friendly. Say hi to the people next to you. Otherwise, thank you very much. We really appreciate it.